So, my sister and I were obsessed with modeling probably about the age of like 3. We were watching America's Next Top Model every episode, every season, probably for a good 13 seasons. We got into this habit of doing photo shoots where we'd like dress up in the most ridiculous outfits you could possibly imagine and walk through our neighborhood to anywhere that like wasn't a backyard. So maybe a fence. The pictures weren't good. I'm not saying the pictures were good, but we were doing it anyways. But what's my job? Do I want to be Tyra Banks? No. I started to realize that unlike the pictures she took of me, the pictures that I took of her were actually really good and were really decent. And compared to hers, anything looked good. But still, I was really starting to like being on the other side of the camera. And so more and more I was opting for the photographer and she was the model until that pretty much became permanent. And so I cannot even tell you how many photo shoots we've done. But I start disappearing and she starts being the focus, and we've done like probably 100 at least. We just kept going and going. Hence developed my dream to shoot for Teen Vogue, to work with faces in magazines, to fall in love with the human race like one of my biggest inspirations, Annie Leibovitz, who once said, "You can't help but be touched by what's right in front of you when you're a photographer." But it scares me a lot, the idea of my dream turning into a job. And after my interview with established family photographer Michelle Abeloff, I realized that I could love it as much as I do, and I could absorb every piece of advice that she gave me. I could follow all the necessary steps, and that wouldn't necessarily mean that making a living that way would be right for me. I was worried about losing the dream in the aspect of the job, and here's why. I love photography. Through my lens, I've admired things that I never would have seen without looking through the lens. I've seen beauty in really weird-looking people, and I've seen elegance and the simplicity of just the last drop of water falling from the faucet. And I love that feeling of turning your camera around and showing them your subject, and when their face lights up because they've seen something that you saw and you captured in them. And Michelle, who I interviewed, gave a similar favorite aspect. She said, not like a school picture, but that I captured something of that person in that part of their life. It means a lot to me. But throughout our interview, she also described a lot of negative aspects of the job, confirming a lot of my biggest fears. I've known Michelle since before I was born. She was literally sleeping on the hospital floor when I was born. And she has been shooting photography for probably 23 years. She got her BA from San Francisco Art Institute, and she's been shooting portraitures and events. And so, since that was kind of the field that I would want to go into in photography, that's why I liked interviewing her, also I know her. And so, I've watched her work and her career develop and change. As she's been a photographer, that was interesting too for me to see, because she's kind of lost motivation. And one of the things that we talked about was the shift in the industry from film and digital, or from film to digital. And so that's been hard for her to keep up with. And so that's basically what we mostly talked about, but it was like one of the concerns that I had, because it's hard, how do you keep passion for something that's so subjective and so relative? And so it's a different time now, and in her hardship with the technology, I found an advantage in my own career, because I have been growing up with the digital. So she says exactly that it's so superficial now, it hurts my soul. But for me, that's actually a good thing that it's so digital, because I've been using Photoshop all through my photography career. And so how I'm going to go about pursuing photography, I'm a graphic communication major, mostly because I was scared to go straight up for photography, but also because it's going to give me a wider knowledge, and because it's going to give me a better way to narrow my vision down into what I want to be as a photographer, how I want to shoot, and what the audience would like from it. I know it well. In fact, that's not what I was trying to say. I'm not going to put on my flashcards. It was good for me to remember how much I love photography by doing this assignment. And it was good for me to reconnect with a mentor who wants to give me all the advice that she has. And it was good for me to reflect on the path that I need to be following. I want to pick up a photo minor, and I want to keep shooting. I need to build up my portfolio with more recent stuff and pictures of someone's face besides my sister. And I don't want to be afraid of pursuing something. My sister is actually not going to college. She's pursuing acting and modeling. And so it's kind of like the good old days, or it could be. Both two silly girls, except maybe in a Los Angeles studio, and maybe for a magazine cover instead of for Facebook profile pictures. So, anyway, what is my dream job? Photography, and hopefully I'm going to get there.